one of the reasons the Senators are back in the series with that Game 4 win was the fact that they finally won the special teams battle in Game 4. They got a power play goal to start from Tim Stützle. They got a shorthanded goal from Shane Pinto to make it 2-0. And then probably more importantly, they killed off the 4-minute Leaf power play in overtime before Jake Sanderson eventually won the game a little later on in that first OT. Here's head coach Travis Green on the better success from special teams in Game 4.
Well, there's lots of little details that happen throughout a series, and you're adjusting all the time. So I thought our penalty kill and our power play did a good job.
Okay, all right. That was it from Travis Green, who we had our special weekend show yesterday, and he was very on Saturday night after they won. We got the playful Travis Green that was happier and expanded upon his answers. Yesterday was kind of like the Travis Green we're used to, which is he doesn't tend to go on at length with his answers.
I thought even when they were down 3-0, he was more effusive as well. With his, it is an ongoing investigation.
Yes.
When he was asked about
that ridiculous fine.
The Cousins thing.
You see some, just as a brief aside, you see some of the other shenanigans that are going on in some of the other series, including between Washington and Montreal before the games. Like, what is it? I get it to a certain extent, but it's either everything or nothing, NHL. You can't pick and choose who you decide that you're going to they didn't even really throw the book. I mean, it's a $2,000 fine.
Sliding the puck at a former teammate just to kind of mess with him a little bit, and we're fining.
But meanwhile, in the Montreal-Washington series, during the warm-ups, you had Jack Eye kind of cross over the red line at one point. You had, I don't know, who was it that shot the puck at one of the goalies? Literally did the same thing. So, anyway, that's it's just kind of dumb. The whole thing is kind of dumb. But anyway, back to the special teams. So the story after Game 1, right, was that Toronto had the 3 power play goals, and through the first 3 games of the series, they were 5 for 9, I think it was, on the power play, 0 for 4 on Saturday. If you look upon the special teams as a whole, Toronto has 5 power play goals, but they've given up a shorty, so total of 4 to the plus side. Ottawa's got 3 power play goals and a shorthanded goal. They're actually 4 as well, in my kind of weird way of looking at it. So the special teams have become, as much as it looked like a large check on the side of Toronto, and it was early in the series, if you look upon it in totality, it's actually even in terms of the positive, I guess, net impact on the goal totals so far.
The Pinto shorty, though, that, I don't know, like we can talk about personnel for penalty killing. There is something to be said to put some of your top talent with speed on your PK as well. And Pinto, is talented, has some speed, but I'll zero in on Stützle as well. If you're going to be facing a power play that loves to play 5 forwards, wouldn't it be nice to always have one of your forwards out there be an absolute threat that makes them think twice? Because Marner makes a bad play there. He's a forward.
Yeah.
He makes a bad pinch.
Bad instinct.
That was a bad instinct. Like, that was a very low percentage. You're really thinking offense because you're on the power play. He should have backed off. It was too easy for Pinto to chip it by him. Like, to have forwards with the ability to do that, I think it's against any power play, but especially if you're facing a power play that they insist on going 5 forwards, I think it benefits you to have that threat shorthanded.
Well, we have seen since they put together Greg and Pinto as a duo, whenever that was, maybe 2/3 of the way through the season, they have been a real threat. I don't have the total number of shorthanded goals that they've had, but they've scored some goals, and they've also created some really good scoring opportunities. So the two of them have been really good on the penalty kill. I'd say Ottawa's, almost not almost. I think they've been their better duo of the two. Like, before Norris got traded away, it was Giroux and Norris, and they were, they were decently effective. But that duo, Pinto and Greg, has been very good, and got rewarded with that goal on Saturday.
Now Giroux's going to kill because of face-offs as well, but if it's going to be Giroux and Gaudette, right, there's not a lot of wheels threat there to be threatening for anybody who's not going to get a puck through, whatever. Anyways, minor observation, but that was a big part of that shorthanded goal, the fact that Pinto was a threat to beat you, with his speed.
What do you figure was going through Drake Batherson's head after he took the double minor? The shot, if you were watching the game on television, the shot after he realized what he had done of him on the ice, and to be a mind reader and could see what's going through. Because you think about Drake Batherson's series so far, right? The bad turnover in Game 2 in overtime, and then the flyby on the back check, and then in Game 3, he took a penalty, and the Leafs scored on the power play in what ended up being an overtime game. So a game you lost by a goal, and then in Game 4, he takes a double minor in overtime that could have very easily ended the series if not for Austin Matthews hitting the post. I mean, Drake Batherson has not had a great series. I mean, we can and will and have talked about guys who have elevated their game, and there have been a few, and then there have some guys that have not had very good series, and Drake Batherson, unfortunately, to this point, has not had a very good series.
He has a goal in the series. He actually ended up being unassisted because it was Riley, because Kleven was pressuring. Then Riley put it back to Sanderson. Batherson actually made the play to get it to Kleven.
Yep.
In the overtime as well. But overall, like he's just had some bad, big, noticeable moments in the series. So 2 thoughts went through my mind when he took that. Number one, I'm like, I felt really bad for Drake Batherson about how long his summer is going to be. That's just terrible. I don't wish that on anybody. You want to see games won and series won by, great plays and not mistakes and misfortune. That's the way I look at sports anyway. And number 2, I started thinking about garbage bag day and what that's going to look like, because
you're already ahead to garbage bag day,
right? Once I saw Tana bleeding, I'm like, all right, I wonder, what are we going to do for garbage bag day? How's that? Because this is over. The Leafs are going to score. The series is over. I was absolutely I didn't even hold out a sliver. This is over.
Yeah.
I could not believe that they were able to kill it off, and good for them, and
let alone
win the game.
How much of a difference do you think it was that Tavares was hurt and wasn't on that power play?
Oh, it hurt big time. He's a huge part of what they do. I'm not saying definitely they would have scored. They still had their looks without him, right? They had their chances. So you can't sit here and say that, that's the only reason, but yeah, it stands to reason. He's been playing so well in the series in general, and he's a big part of that power play.
There was a point, so it's 4-minute-er, obviously. There was, and the Sens' initial penalty killers, which included Jake Sanderson, were out there for, I think, the first 2 minutes, right? They never were able to get a change because it's the long change, too. That's the other part of the first period of overtime is you have the long change. So you're killing a penalty, so it's hard to get to the bench. And there's one point close to the 2-minute mark where the Leafs are kind of cycling it around or whatever, and Jake Sanderson is obviously just exhausted at that point. He just plants himself in front of the net and just kind of hunkers down. You can almost see him go, oh, my God, how much longer do I have to do this? But he was able to do that. And obviously the game ended on a high note for him as he passed the 30-minute mark. He and Shabbat both played 30 minutes in that game on Thursday or on Saturday. And speaking of which, I thought that of guys who have struggled in the first part of the series, I thought Thomas Shabbat, compared to what he did in the regular season, hadn't been as good. I thought he was much better on Saturday. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was playing the offside with Kleven, because they ended up going with 5D pretty much for the third period and much of the overtime. Matt and Pello played a handful of shifts. And we'll talk about Kleven in a couple of minutes. But I thought that Shabbat was much more Shabbatian in bringing what he brings to the table. I thought we saw more of that on Saturday night.
Was he shabalicious?
Yes.
Shabalicious, yes. That's it.
I thought he was better on Saturday.
I thought so too. And if you eat up that many minutes and he and Sanderson both go past 30 and you win the hockey game, then chances are, if you're going to lean on 2 guys as much as you do in a single game, then you would think there's a good chance it's going to go your way. That way, and it did in the end. And you're right. I think that, and I thought, Jensen's playing through. I thought Jensen gutted one out again. I thought he was better in that game than at other points where you can notice that we see him wincing a lot and you see him limited sometimes in his speed bursts.
I don't think there's any doubt that anyone has done themselves more favors in this series by their play than Tyler Kleven. And we saw the best of Tyler Kleven in Game 4, and he was rewarded by playing extra minutes. As we mentioned, they went to pretty much 5 defensemen. His night ended up being, let me just see here, 23 minutes, including 22 minutes. He doesn't play any special teams, but 2 hits and 2 shots, 4 attempts, 4 hits, 3 block shots, 3 giveaways as well. And he doesn't end up getting a point on the Sanderson goal. But I mean, sometimes you can just see a player, especially a young player, grow in front of you. Would Tyler Kleven, at any point in the season, especially early in the season, when given that opportunity in the overtime, when Batherson passed it to him in the middle of the ice, like in the center ice zone, in the neutral zone, and that whole side of the ice is open, he probably would have just kind of looked for a pass or chipped it in or whatever. Not only did he take the puck all the way down the ice, he took his ice, but he took an opportunity to put the puck on the net and then went and forced the puck bounced into the corner. And it's Riley that ends up sweeping it away from him, and that's all the way back to the point, and that's when Sanderson picked it up and put it in the net. But it's because Kleven followed it around and put the pressure on Riley to get rid of the puck, and that caused, so he doesn't end up getting a point, but really, he's the reason that the puck ends up on Sanderson's stick. So that's just to me an example, and there were many examples throughout this series where he is just so much more confident with the puck on his stick. We're talking about overtime of a playoff game, of an elimination game.
And you're a rookie D.
And you're a rookie defenseman who's not really noted as being in any way an offensive guy. Like, that's not your calling card, but just the confidence he's showing with the puck on his stick. I think this has been, I thought the third pairing would be a liability going into the series. I think that was one of the, this is going to be not very good for Ottawa. And instead, Matt and Paolo's been fine, and Kleven has been really, really good. It's been a huge part of this series.
Well, and this is what making the playoffs, this is beneficial. No matter how this turns out, and it's 3-1. The Leafs are still in control of this series, okay? But just getting to the postseason and getting this kind of an experience, for Tyler Kleven, what's this going to do for the rest of the early part of his career as he's coming off his rookie season? And, it's a good time to pop a little bit for the organization. His contract's up.
Yep.
He's an RFA. So that'll be interesting to see what that looks like when they get to that piece of business in the summer.
Well, these are, and we'll see how long the playoffs last. It may only last one more game. I think when we can get into the importance of just winning a game in terms of the psyche of the fans and the city. But this is a real good snapshot for coaches and management now because the expectation now is the Senators going forward will make the playoffs every year. And that the expectation now grows every year that not only do you make the playoffs, but then you start to win in the playoffs and you win series and you advance further down the road. And you start to see when the lights are the brightest, who are the players that are stepping up, whose games are improving, and who are the players that maybe you expected to that aren't, or that can't, or that don't. And this is how you build your team. And these guys, the management team, I think they've got a very good idea of what they like, right? Some of the acquisitions that we saw in the offseason and through the season where you kind of go, what does that guy really bring to the table? And then you kind of see, right, David Perron, I think, is a great example. When he was signed, it was kind of like, what's the deal there? But you see what a guy like him brings to the table in terms of leadership, but also on the ice in games like Saturday. These are the snapshots they're starting to get now of the guys they maybe aren't as familiar with, the guys that have been with the Sens for a while now. Who can I trust? Who can I build with? And who is maybe a guy we're going to have to move on from if given the opportunity? Well,
and when it comes to Tyler Kleven, because they're in the process of still trying to build up their prospect cupboard, right? Tyler Kleven, of what he represents, this is a really good sign. They can't afford for Kleven to be a miss. They need him.
Yeah, absolutely.
They need him to become, at minimum, a regular top 6D. And who knows? There might be a little bit more there at this stage. But this organization needs Kleven to play and hit and be a guy that you can count on here because they just don't have a lot.
Yeah.